Radhamadava Kunjabi Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Sisi Gauni Tai Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Who's translating in Hindi?
To verse. And that's it. You don't read the purport? It's too long. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. I go to the English. That verse in Sanskrit. Okay. Yeah, okay. Sampacharas su nana jageshu vichachintanga kriyeshu apurvam yatat kriya phalam dharmakyam pade brahmani yaga purushe sarvadevata linganam mantranam ata niyama kataya sakshat kataripara divatayam bhagavati vasudeva eva bhavamana atmanai puna mnidita kshayo harivasva adva yubir griyamaneshu yajamano yagya bhajo devam tan purushava yasevu abhya dayat. Now I go directly to translation. After performing the preliminaries of various sacrifices, Mahārāja Bharata offered the result in the name of religion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vāsudeva. In other words, he performed all the yajñas for the satisfaction of Vāsudeva, Kṛṣṇa. Mahārāja Bharata thought that since the demigods were different parts of Vāsudeva's body, he controls those who are explained in the Vedic mantras. By thinking in this way, Mahārāja Bharata was freed from all material contaminations such as attachment, lust and greed. When the priests were about to offer the sacrificial ingredients into the fire, Mahārāja Bharata expertly understood how the offerings made to the different demigods was simply an offering to the different limbs of the Lord. For example, Indra is the arm of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Sūrya, the sun, is his eye. Thus Mahārāja Bharata considered that the oblations offered to different demigods are actually offered unto the different limbs of Vāsudeva. We read the whole purport in English? Whole thing. Long. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead says that as long as one does not develop the pure devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, one must carry out his prescribed duties. Since Mahārāja was a great devotee, one may ask why he performed so many sacrifices which are actually meant for karmis. The fact is that he was simply following the orders of Vāsudeva. As Kṛṣṇa says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman parijyajya mamikam saranam vraja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Whatever we do, we should constantly remember Vāsudeva. People are generally addicted to offering obeisances to various demigods. But Mahārāja Bharata simply wanted to please Lord Vāsudeva. Stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktaram yagatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. A yaga may be carried out to satisfy a particular demigod, but when the yaga is offered to the yaga purusha, Narayan, the demigods are satisfied. The purpose of performing different yaga is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. One may perform them in the name of different demigods or directly. If we directly offer the oblations to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demigods are automatically satisfied. If we water the root of the tree, then branches, twigs, fruit, flowers are automatically satisfied. When one offers sacrifice to different demigods, one should remember that the demigods are simply parts of the body of the Supreme. If we worship the hand of a person, we intend to satisfy the person himself. If we massage a person's leg, we do really serve, rather than the leg, we serve the person who possesses the leg. All the different demigods are different parts of the Lord, and we offer service to them, we actually serve the Lord himself. Demigod worship is mentioned in Brahma Samhita, but actually the shlokas advocate worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda. For instance, worship of Goddess Durga is mentioned in this way in Brahma Samhita. Stiti pralaya sadhana shaktireka chayeva yasya bhuvanati vivarvi Durga. Itchan rupam apayasya chachesya cha govindam adipurusham tamam bhadrami. Following the orders of Sri Kṛṣṇa, the goddess Durga creates, maintains and annihilates. Sri Kṛṣṇa confirms his statement in Bhagavad Gita, Maya dakshena prakriti suyati sasrachram. Material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and has produced all moving and non-moving beings. We should worship the demigods in that spirit because the goddess Durga satisfies Kṛṣṇa. We should therefore offer respect to goddess Durga. Because Lord Kṛṣṇa is nothing but Krishna's functional body, Lord Shiva is nothing but Krishna's functional body, we should therefore offer respect to Lord Shiva. Similarly, we should respect to Brahma, Agni, Sūrya. There are many offerings to different demigods, and one should always remember that these offerings are usually meant to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bharat Maharaj did not aspire to receive some benediction from demigods. His aim was to please the Supreme Lord. In Mahabharata, among the thousands of names to please the Lord, in Mahabharata, among the thousands of names to please the Lord, it is said, Yagya Bhuk, Yagya Krita, Yagya. The enjoyer of Yagya, the performer of Yagya, and Yagya itself is the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord is a performer of everything, but out of ignorance the living entity thinks that he is the actor. As long as we think we are the actors, we can bring about karma bandha, but if we act for Yagya, for Kṛṣṇa, there is no karma bandha. Yagyatat karmano nyatra loko yam karma bandhanaha. Work done for sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed, otherwise work binds one to the material world. Following the instructions of Bharat Maharaj, we should act not for personal satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita it is also stated, Asharadaya Bhuta Datam Tapas Taptam Kritam Chayat Asad Didi Yuchate Bharta Nacha Tat Pretya Noya. Sacrifices, austerities and charities performed without faith in the Supreme Lord are non-permanent, regardless. Whatever rituals are performed, they are called asat, non-permanent. They are also useless in this life and the next. Kings like Mahārāja Ambarish and many other Rajashis who were pure devotees of the Lord simply passed their time in the service of the Supreme Lord. When the pure devotee executes some service with the agency of another person, he should not be criticized, for his activities are meant for the satisfaction of the Lord. A devotee may have a priest perform some karma kanda, the priest may not be a pure Vaishnava, but because the devotee wants to please the Supreme Lord, he should not be criticized. The word apurva is very significant. The resultant action of karma are called apurva. When we simply act piously or impiously, immediately result do not ensure. We therefore wait for the results, which are called apurva. The results are manifested in the future. Even the smartest accept this apurva. Pure devotees simply act for the pleasure of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the result of their activities are spiritual or permanent. They are not like those of the karmis, which are non-permanent. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Gata sangasya muktasya jnana vastita chetasaha yagyat yajñas karma samagram paviliyati. The work of a man who is unattached to the mode of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. And the devotee is always free from material contamination. He is fully situated in knowledge, and therefore his sacrifices are intended for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Agyan Timidandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmiritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitamina Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Siguru Siyutapadakkamalam Sigurun Vaishnavam Sa Srirupam Sagajatan Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvetam Savaduta Pajana Saitam Kṛṣṇa Chaitana Devam Sri Radha Kṛṣṇa Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitam Sa. Hey Kṛṣṇa Karna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Pre Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasinnav Cha Patitanam Pavanevi Vaishnavi Viramonva Sri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vidago Bhaktivinoda Hare Kṛṣṇa Hare Kṛṣṇa Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Rama. So in Bhagavad Gita Krishna also tells Arjuna that Bhaktaram Yagatapasam, that all sacrifices is for me. In fact, in the material world, people are materially motivated. Aham purvam, aham purvam, me first, me first. That is a mentality. And so even when it comes to spiritual life, people first themselves, then themselves, then themselves, and then Krishna. Whereas a devotee, he thinks otherwise. My mother, she was a pious woman, and she said to me many times, she said, first comes God, then comes God, and then comes God. And then the others, and then the others, and then the others, and then yourself, in that order. So it is very simple but very nice. You know that Krishna first, because he is the creator of everything. And if we have Krishna's favor, then everything will happen. Like there is this verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, Machita sarva durgani mat prasaram tarishyasi. That if you focus on me, machita, your consciousness is directed towards me, then matpasaram, by my mercy, all the difficulties of material life, sarva durgani, they come from Durga, all these difficulties will be destroyed automatically. Krishna is Surya Sama, Maya and Nagar. Krishna is like sunshine, Maya is like darkness. Wherever there's sunshine, there's no question of darkness. So devotees, we understand that ultimately there's only one security in this world. There's no other security. There's no life insurance, because we all will go sooner or later. We cannot escape death even if we try so. The only insurance there is Krishna. That's why Prabhupada told us that once you initiate it, he said, I have given you the passport to the spiritual world. But you still have to get the visa. And that's where the work is. Like somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, can you save me? He said, yes, I can, but you have to do the work. You know, so this is a very important thing that, yes, there's Krishna's mercy, but we have to do our work. Just like, I mean, if you think about it, Srila Prabhupada, he gave mercy to the whole world. Ganaganatvam, it says in the Purvastaka prayer, that he, spiritual master, is like a rain cloud. It takes the rain from the ocean of mercy, and then the cloud sheds the water over the sea. and there's no issue. It is a waste. Then the cloud sheds its rain on the rocky land. There's no result. And then the sun throws the rain on the fertile land. There's huge result. So there's these two things come together in a spiritual life. On one side, the disciple has to be qualified. So most people, although Prabhupada gave his mercy to everybody on the planet, most people don't take it, because they don't have this capacity. You have to have some sort of qualification. I mean, I remember we were translating Bhagavad Gita in those days into German language. This was 1973 or something, and a long time ago. And so on the morning walk, I asked Srila Prabhupada, there was one verse of Bhāgavatam quoted in one of his purports, and it was puzzling to me. It says that somebody who chants the holy name of God has visited all the places of pilgrimage and has taken bath in all the holy rivers. So I took it for myself. Actually, it is meant for the people of Bharatvarsha, because in their previous lives they did all this and they come to Krishna. So I asked Prabhupada, does it mean that... Huh? Yeah? Okay. So I asked Srila Prabhupada on the morning walk, I said, does it mean that in my last life I was in India? And the verse is obviously not talking about mletras from Western countries. It's talking about people who understand Indian Sanskrit, So he smiled and he said, maybe, maybe not. He said, but one thing is sure, and that is the most important thing, that I created with your good fortune. And that's a fact, I mean, if Prabhupada would not have come to the West and stayed in Vrindavan, where would we be? These are the two things. On one side, you have the spiritual master, and on the other side, you also have to have some sort of qualification. I mean, why is it that we became attracted to Krishna consciousness, and so many of my classmates, for example, or people I had as friends in the university, where is everybody? And my own family, where is everybody? I mean, you put two and two together. I was as much a pupil like everybody else, but nobody of my school, nobody of my university classes joined the Hare Krishna movement. So there is something is there. And that's why you have some people go to the temple and become devotees. And some people, of course, they go in front of the deity and pray for material benefits, because they're materialistic. My dear Lord Vāsudeva, where's Vāsudeva? There. Please give me a house by the sea and a colored TV, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. So we should pray to Balaji, please make us pure, allow us to become pure devotees. That's the most important thing, because without the mercy of Krishna, nothing works. I mean, even Haridas Thakur, he was saying that in this material world, nobody is able to chant without distraction. Nobody is able to chant unless he has the mercy of the Lord. He said, therefore we have to pray to His grace. So this element of grace has to be there. That has to be there, not by our own doing. Because ultimately everything is done by Krishna. I mean, take for example this. I'm not the body. You're not the body, right? Then if I'm not the body, then how can I scratch my head? How do I do that? I'm not the body, right? And why do I want to scratch my head? That's the first question. Because it is itching. But I'm not the body. So what happens here? The soul penetrates like the sun is penetrated, the universe with light. The soul penetrates the body with consciousness. And so I'm conscious of my body. And I feel inconvenient right now. There is some itch. And so the soul wants to relieve itself from this itch. But the soul is he's not the driver. He's just a passenger of the car. The driver is the super soul, actually. So how does it work? It's actually very simple. That Kṛṣṇa knows from inside, he's in my heart, he knows everything. He knows that I would like to scratch my head. And so he calls demigods. This is Kṛṣṇa. Can you please, oh Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, can you please move his hand? He wants to scratch. Yes, Bhagavan. And so the hand goes up. What you did just there, you know. This is all going on because of the super soul. In all living entities, nobody can move. You cannot even see without Kṛṣṇa. You cannot hear without Kṛṣṇa. You cannot feel without Kṛṣṇa. You cannot lift your hand without. You can do nothing without Kṛṣṇa. You know, from him comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. Savasya Champadi Sanivishtu. Matasmiti Jnanam Apunamsha. He is the strength of the strong. He's the ability of man. He's the intelligence of the intelligent. You see, we are operating on the super soul. It's all the super soul in all living beings. Ishvara sarvabhutanam nidesya arjuna tishtati. Sarvabhutanam. Ishvara sarvabhutanam. The controller of all living beings. Sarvabhutanam is Kṛṣṇa. Brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudhani. Maya, who is sitting on a machine made of matter. It's like a robot, basically speaking. And so without Kṛṣṇa we can't do anything. We're not the body, so how do you even realize there's an itch? I'm not the body, but still I the soul penetrates this body with consciousness. Therefore I feel now, if you ask me this question, what happens now? I feel an itch right here. And so I can lift my hand by Kṛṣṇa's mercy only, by the grace of the super soul, I can scratch. And I think that I'm the doer. Ahamkara vimudhatma. Not just muda, vimud, a royal edition of fool, is Rolls-Royce edition of a fool, the mundane materialist. They take everything for granted. I've done this, I've done that. I've done so many things. And they take credit for their achievements, but actually all credit should be given by Kṛṣṇa, to Kṛṣṇa, because without Kṛṣṇa you can't do anything, you can't achieve anything, you can't even scratch your head without Kṛṣṇa. So we should understand this complete dependency on Kṛṣṇa. In all our, you do this right now. You can do this only by the super soul. Super soul is everything. Super soul is arranging everything at every moment. I remember we got a phone call one time from Srila Prabhupada in London. We were in Germany. We were distributing books. So we got a phone call that there is a book fair in Belgrade. That was communist Yugoslavia at that time. You should go to this book fair as Bhaktivedanta Book Trust and present our books. We went. We took a car, 5,000 each Upanishads into the back, and we drove. And of course we came to the border, and we were refused. Why? Because it was Kṛṣṇa's plan that we would be refused. He had some other plan. So, being the super soul in our heart, he told us to go to another border crossing. So we went to another border crossing, and I felt hungry all of a sudden, and I said to my Chakravarti, my godbrother, I said, "Are you hungry?" He said, "Yes, also, I feel very hungry right now." "Why is that?" "It was a super soul." And so I said, "You have what you have?" "Chapatis." "Okay, make chapatis." So he made chapati, and the smell was everywhere, and now see what happens, how Kṛṣṇa arranges things. A dog came. He smelled the chapatis by the grace of the super soul. And he came and started begging, looking at me with big eyes. So, again the super soul told me, "Well, give him a chapati." So I gave him a chapati. He ate it. I gave him another one. He ate it. And then I said to Chakravarti, I have an idea. Actually, this idea comes from the Super Soul. I grabbed the dog, lured him to the window and pulled him inside and put him there. And I said, let's go. So we came to the border, just 100 yards. And the custom officer said, the Yugoslavia, you can't bring this dog into Yugoslavia. He has to go into quarantine. I said, no, you can't do this to me. I'm practically speaking married to this dog. He said, you may be married to this dog, but you can't bring it. I said, please, shall I give you some money? He said, no, I can't take money. I have to be strict in this. You cannot import this animal into this country. It's not possible. And I argued with him back and forth. And finally I said, and if I throw this dog out of the car, I can go? He said, you go. You see, this custom officer, all day he was looking into the back of cars. All day. That was his business, to check. And he was so covered by the Super Soul that he was not able to do that. And so we rolled into the country with 5,000 books, and that was the beginning of the Hare Krishna movement in communist Yugoslavia. You see how everything is arranged by the Super Soul. You know, it's a complete plan. You know, the other border, it was not Krishna's plan. Krishna's plan was that we go through this country with this particular device. And he brought the dog, he covered the custom officer, and he gave me the right idea to do the right thing, namely to pull the dog into the car. And in this way we get through. So the influence of Krishna is everywhere, in every moment. I remember Prabhupada, when he left his body, I happened to be there for the last 3 weeks of his life, in his room many times. And so what he said is, he was already struggling with air. And so his hand went up all of a sudden, very peaceful. I saw it was not trembling. And he said, it took him about 10 minutes to say, he said, everything moving and non-moving, there's nothing but Krishna. This consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. That was the last thing. And then after some time, Hare Krishna, and he left the body. You see, that was the second last thing, Prabhupada, since we added. Day before, he wanted to take some medicine, and he asked his servant, give me medicine. So he gave him medicine, and Prabhupada said, did you close the bottle? Because Prabhupada, his system was, we take a pill out, immediately close the bottle, because otherwise you may throw it over. He was very conscious. You know, you open a bottle, take a pill, close it. So he said, did you close the bottle? He said, no, Srila Prabhupada, I forgot. And Prabhupada said, that is your disease. He said, all of you. You know how to open bottles, but you don't know how to close them. You start so many new things, and you don't see the consequences. You see, and we see this so many times, you know, that people get into so many ideas, you know, sometimes in their little Western minds, not understanding the culture, the Vaishnava culture. And so we are inventing so many things, but we don't see the consequences. And then Prabhupada said, you know how to live, but you don't know how to die. And so I have to show you. And then he called for Yadubar, the filmer, and he told him, you film when I leave this body. That's why we have this film. It comes out of this conversation, you know, that we have this film proper leaving the body. So, in the material world, everybody is a fool, practically speaking. And the word religion, since the word of religion is mentioned here in the beginning, let me just have a look at it again. Mahārāja Bharata offered the results in the name of religion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word religion is an interesting word, actually. It comes from Latin language, and has two parts. One is re, means again, and the other one is ligare. Ligare means connect. So religion actually means to reconnect with God, which automatically implies that we have been connected before. So when we are here in the material world, we are cut off. And religion means to reconnect with Krishna. There's this verse in Bhagavad Gita, I think 6.2, where it says, it is the same like yoga. Yoga means to reconnect with the absolute truth. Yoga and religion is actually quite similar. So that is the purpose of religion, to reconnect with Krishna. Not with some demigod or some big industrialist, or even to create a material situation, a comfortable material situation, because whatever you build, you're going to lose at the time of death. And nobody can escape death. It's not possible. There's a story. It's a very old story from the Sumeric culture. This is a culture of Iraq, basically speaking. And there was a man, rich man, he had a servant. And he sent him to the market to buy sabji. So when he was buying the sabji, death personified approached him. And he was shocked. He ran for his life and went to his master and said, Master, Master, give me a horse, I got to go. Death personified is after me. He said, where you want to go? He said, I want to go to Samara, about 4 hours by horse. Why you want to go there? I want to hide. I have relatives there. He said, all right, I'll give you a horse, go. So the merchant had to go himself to buy sabji. And he went to the market and death was approaching him. So the merchant said, why did you threaten my servant? He said, I didn't threaten him. I was just surprised that he's in Baghdad because I have an appointment with him tonight in Samara. It's a nice story. You see, you can't escape death. If you're supposed to die, you will die. You know, I will tell you a really amazing story in this regard. One time we had one boy from a Protestant background. He joined us, and then he left, which is happening many times. And so one day I got a phone call from a Catholic priest in Southern Ireland. This was in Northern Ireland. And he said, you must come because this boy, James, he came with his uncle, and the uncle wants to talk to you. I said, I'm not going to see any uncles. He said, yes, you must, because he's very powerful. He's very powerful. You will regret. You must see him. You can't, otherwise you will be offended. He's a big man. So I went. So there he was, a big man, with a huge head, and he said, I want you to tell James to never come to the temple again, to stay with his mother. And I said, James, how old are you? He said, 26. I said, come on. He's not a child. He should make up his own mind. Neither I should tell him nor you. He's an adult. He should make his own decisions. If he wants to come to us, he's welcome. If he wants to go to his mother, then it's okay with me. We shouldn't force him. It would be unethical. No, you have some influence on him. I'm telling you, you tell him. I said, it's against ethics. Such a decision, whether somebody wants to practice spiritual life or not, that's very personal. I'm not going to interfere in that. I'm telling you for the last time. I said, man, are you threatening me? He said, yes. I said, yes, I'm threatening you. And you tell him right now, I count up to 3. 1, 2, 3. Tell him, he screamed, I said, over my dead body. Exactly, he said, over your dead body you pass your own sentence. He ran out with his boy. And the priest said, you know who that was? I said, I have no idea. I said, he is the top general of the Protestant terrorist army. He has 60,000 people under him, armed to the teeth with guns and machine guns and bazookas and rockets and bombs and anything. I said, you're done. You offended him. No, even we don't offend this man like that as Catholics. You run for your life. Don't go to the temple. Immediately go to the airport. And don't fly to Germany. He will be after you. You must fly to a place like Uganda, maybe China, burn your passport, forget your identity. He will kill you otherwise. And I said, listen, I don't think that he can do that. He said, why? I said, it's not in his power. If Kṛṣṇa wants me to die, I will die tomorrow in his hands, or I will fall from a chair and I'm dead, or I have a car accident. And Kṛṣṇa, if Kṛṣṇa does not want me to die, there's nothing he can do. What is this verse? There's some verse. Mahārāja Kṛṣṇa, that one, you see? And I said, it's not in his power. It's up to Kṛṣṇa. The priest said, how can you have so much faith in God? I said, Father, that's our business, isn't it? You should have faith. And you would run. He said, yes, I would run. So that was the end of the conversation. And I went to the temple. It took about an hour. When I was there, the telephone rang. And the priest was on the phone. He wanted to talk to me. So he said, my God, did you hear the news? I said, no. He said, that guy, that general, he went to his car, he turned the key, and a bomb took him away. He was killed. You see what Kṛṣṇa can do. You know, this man was determined to kill me, and Kṛṣṇa said, you go. And he killed him on the spot. You see how, when we preach Kṛṣṇa consciousness, we are under Kṛṣṇa's protection. And if somebody tries to kill us, and Kṛṣṇa will not take this lightly. And this priest, from that day on, he was very respectful to us, because he could understand that we had a connection to the Lord. Otherwise, how is it possible? And in fact, we had some devotees who were before in the Catholic Protestant, in the Catholic terrorist army, the IRA. And so one of them, he was sitting in jail, Uddhava Prabhu. He was sitting in a concentration camp, British concentration camp, for 3 years. And he knew everybody, all the big people in the IRA. And he asked them, what happened? He said, we don't understand. We try to get this, whatever, he said a bad word about it, this guy since 40 years. We couldn't get him. And all of a sudden we get a phone call, we don't know who was on the phone, and he tells us, he's right in front of your doorstep in Catholic Dublin. We couldn't believe our ears. So we went, we compared the license plate, it's his license plate. We rigged up the car. While he was talking, they were rigging up the car. So when he came out, he went to the car and Srila Prabhupada ki jai. He was taken away. So Kṛṣṇa is a reality. He's a reality. We have no understanding in generally how Kṛṣṇa is everywhere, how everything is done by Kṛṣṇa, that not a blade of grass moves without Kṛṣṇa's sanction. And we cannot think without Kṛṣṇa. We cannot see without Kṛṣṇa. As far as thinking is concerned, one time one devotee said to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, sometimes I'm thinking, and Prabhupada interrupted him and said, don't do that. Because he knew that he was speculating. Prabhupada was so funny sometimes. He said, don't do that. So, but even that is under Kṛṣṇa's control. The whole body, I mean, what do you do about your heart moving or beating, or what do you do about the intestinal? This is all under Kṛṣṇa's Maya Kshina Prakriti Suyati Sataracharam. Everything is under my control. It is done by different demigods, of course, but because Kṛṣṇa doesn't get directly involved, but the inspiration comes from Kṛṣṇa. The inspiration comes from Kṛṣṇa. Nothing works in this world without Kṛṣṇa's inspiration. Not possible. He's everywhere. But people think, Christians think, or Muslims think, Jewish people think, he is in heaven. He's also in heaven, but he's also everywhere. Andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam. Even in the atom is Kṛṣṇa. You know, even, I mean, matter is dead. How is it that electrons and protons float around the neutron? There's some action there. It's because the Lord is in the atom. That's why. Otherwise it would not work. So he is an underlying principle of this material world. Otam protam, there's one verse. The Lord is otam, otam and protam. That means the wift and the web. You know, these, when you weave a cloth, it is made out of horizontal yarn and vertical yarn. There's otam and protam. So Kṛṣṇa is otam protam. When you take, I have my daughter here, if you would take the otam out and the proton, there would be nothing left. You know, he's the essence of material creation even. You know, without him nothing works. Ishvara sarva bhutanam nidesha juntistati, nothing would work. And therefore, the problems we may face, ultimately there's no material solution. No, because we are harassed in the material world by Durga. Remember this verse I quoted initially, that if you direct your consciousness towards me, then Machita Sarva Durgani, all difficulties that come from Durga, Mat Prasadam, by my mercy, will be destroyed. I remember I experienced all three types of Durgani one time. One time I fell asleep in a car and I drove into a tree. What is that? Adhyatmika. Suffering that comes from my own mind, from my senses, from Adhyatmika. Another time we were driving, we came from Sankirtan and we came down a hill and there was a bend there and this was full of ice. And so we went straight into the plank, metal plank. A huge truck came, gigantic truck, and just before it, we got kicked over by the plank and got thrown to the other side, all under Krishna's control. Then from that plank, we got again thrown to the other plank. It happened in seconds. And a huge Jagannath truck again came, Juggernaut, they call it, you know. And again we got thrown over, and he just kicked up a little bit at the back. So you see how everything is under Krishna's control. And then we fell over and we rolled and rolled and rolled. It was 9 o'clock in the evening, it was in winter, it was late at night. And I had a picture of Lord Chaitanya on my dashboard, this big, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda like this. And the motor was still running, sputtering. And the car was standing on its edge like this, you know. And we walked out of the screen and we saw in the light of the car, how do you call it, the headlights, Lord Chaitanya was standing like this in the snow. And we knew that we were saved by Lord Chaitanya. You see. And so this was Adidevika, the ice. Another time, then now we come to Adibodhika, caused by others. We drove on Sankirtan, again with this Chakravarti that I went to Yugoslavia with. And all of a sudden, some car came and some car tried to overtake and he pushed in and I had to go on the brakes and it was raining and I went immediately like this, you know, 3-4 times. And there was a huge hedge there. And we went into the hedge. It lowered the impact. And then we rolled 5 times. And the car was destroyed. And I was sitting on top and Chakravarti was at the bottom. And I said, Chakravarti, how are you? He said, I'm okay. What about yourself? I said, I'm okay. So we went out of the car. A glass in my hair, a tear here. And I looked up on the motorway. There were cars waiting. People were shocked. They were standing there, about 100 people. And I said, come on, let's go. We took our books. We said, did you see this accident? Yes, we saw. Buy one of these books, How to Survive Under All Circumstances. I said, are you okay? He said, yes, we're okay. You're not okay. You should read this book. And police came. How did you survive? I said, everything is in Bhagavad Gita. Read this book. Ambulance came. I think I distributed 40 Bhagavatams or something. 40. So we have to take every opportunity to preach Krishna consciousness. So we took that opportunity. I mean, some people thought it was a stunt. You know, they couldn't believe it, that this was actually real. It was like in a movie. And so you see how Adhyatmika, you fall asleep, Adidevika, you get a hit an ice pitch, or Adibodhika, some idiot drives right in front of you that you have to go on the brakes. These are the sufferings in material life. And we survived every single one because of Krishna's protection. I'll give you another example of Krishna's protection. One time I was in Gainesville, Florida. And Florida is full of crocodiles, alligators. There's so many that sometimes people say we should throw a nuclear bomb on it because it's out of control. There are millions and millions of crocodiles. Ridananda Maharaj tried to take a bath in his pool, and there was a crocodile inside. And again and again happens that some baby, mother parks it in a pram, he goes inside to turn the water off, he comes back, the crocodile took the child. So I was walking along this lane. It was a little path. Here is a lake. I was walking along this lake. Here's a lane. And behind me, there's a motorway. Cars go. So I went to the lake and I saw something that I was thinking, what is that? And all of a sudden, wow, this crocodile came out. And it was long. It was at least from here to there. Easily 4 meters. And fat, you know. And you cannot outrun a crocodile. They're very fast, you know. So I ran headless, and I ran over the street, and a car almost hit me. Almost. I felt it here. And I ran on the other side. And the man stopped his car. I said, you are very fortunate. He said, if I would have come 1 second earlier, or if I would have come 1 second later, he said, you would have been dead. He would have pulled you into the water, drowned you. You see how Krishna can do that. It was just a split second that I was separated from the crocodile. The crocodile got hit and went back into the water. I would have been eaten by the crocodile. See how Krishna is taking care of you when you're preaching Krishna consciousness. It is just unbelievable. The management of that situation is just unbelievable, the arrangement, you know. It was just a little window for me to escape, and I went through that window, right? Otherwise, it would not have been possible. So you see that there's always a super soul, and we die at the time we are supposed to die. Krishna has his plan, and nobody can undo it, not even a crocodile, not even the chief general of the Persian underground army. You can't stop it, because everything is going under Krishna's direction. But we can't see it, of course, because we are materially conditioned. We can't see. We can't see Vrindavan, for example. Yesterday evening I was talking about it, that there's a whole reality that we don't see. Even if we go to Mount Kailash, what do we see? Nothing. It's just a mountain with a lot of ice on top. But we know from Bhāgavatam there's a huge banyan tree, there's Lord Shiva is sitting there, the Kumars are there, there are waterfalls, there are all kinds of animals and beautiful gardens. We can't see it because we are conditioned. We can't see the transcendental reality of Vrindavan unless we have Krishna's grace, like Rupa Goswami, for example, or Shyamananda Prabhu. He actually met Srimati Radharani. He was a pure devotee, and he was sweeping Niduban. That was his service. And it was already in the evening, and so he saw there was a bangle lighting, and he lifted up the bangle and said, this is self-illuminating. You know, it was beaming, like if it was painted with phosphor. And he said, this is very special, and put it into pocket. And Lalita came to him and said, you should give me this bangle. Because I said, why? He said, it is owned by Radharani. She left it here in the forest. He said, I will not give you, I want to give this to Radharani myself. He said, all right, there's my kund, there's Lalita kund there, you know. He said, you go to my kund, you take a bath. He took his bath and he came out as a gopi, beautifully dressed. And he walked upstairs, and there was Radharani standing there. And she said, where's my bangle? So he gave him the bangle, her the bangle, and she took the bangle and pressed it on his forehead, and the tilak appeared. A different tilak appeared on his, and she gave him a deity of Krishna. When you go into Radha Shama Sundar temple, you can see on the side There's a deity of Kṛṣṇa and there's Radharani. That deity comes from the spiritual world. You have seen this deity. You have seen the deity, right? You see, so he could enter into the spiritual world. There's a whole reality there that we don't have access to in generally. So he met Radharani himself. Of course, his guru was very disturbed that he had a different tilak than the one he was given to him by his guru. And he condemned him. But Radharani came at night and told him, I gave him this myself, this mantra. And so he understood that his disciple was very advanced, that he could meet Śrīmad Radharani. So in essence, you know, people are searching for material solutions. Like you can see, what is this world? This world is simply opening bottles. They open this bottle, that bottle, consequently the water is polluted, the rivers are polluted, the air is polluted, the food is polluted, the bodies are polluted, everything is polluted. Because they have so many ideas. Let's try this one, let's try opening bottles. And nobody knows how to stop the environmental crisis. It's impossible to stop it. You know, the only thing why it will stop, because Kṛṣṇa will throw the bomb. That's my conclusion. It's the only way how this will be stopped. Because when, like in the story with Kamsa, the Lord is increasing the military power of the demons so that they destroy themselves. And so this is happening right now as well. And so, but otherwise, you know, nobody's taking Shastra very seriously. We don't own anything. What is this verse? Ishravashyamidam sarvam yat kincha jagadyam taga tena taktina bundrita magrita hakasya svitanam. Everything in this world is controlled and owned by God. One should only take that which is set aside for him. One should not take other things, knowing well who it belongs. So why do we have this crisis? Because everybody thinks it's mine. There's no God in control. Nobody owns it. I can just drill the earth and take as much oil out of it as I like. I can drill the ocean. I can just destroy the environment because there's no owner there. This is not so. It's owned by Kṛṣṇa. And so this world is going to be destroyed, like Kṛṣṇa says in Bhagavad Gita, the demons destroy the world because they don't understand that their lifestyle should be very simple and they should hear from Kṛṣṇa as a main thing in one's life is to hear Kṛṣṇa Katha and to chant Kṛṣṇa's name. And if we do so, then Kṛṣṇa will act. Like there's a verse, let me just have a look at it, in Adi Purāṇa. There's one verse. There it is. And so Lord says to Arjuna, Shradaya Hilaya Nama Ratani Mama Jantuva Tesham Nama Sada Partadi Vatate Hridaye Mama. Lord Kṛṣṇa says to Arjuna, O Arjuna, listen attentively. When the living entity chants my name, whether out of devotion or indifference, even if it's indifference, still, Kṛṣṇa says, I can never forget this act. Kṛṣṇa cannot forget. It's very special to him that somebody chants. It remains always close to my heart. That's what Kṛṣṇa says. Because he's a chanting. What is this word? Yajñanam japa yagyusmin. Yeah. That's the verse, you know. That he is the name. Binadvam nama namino. He's not different from the name. So then it goes in Sanskrit. I read it to you. Yes. Nanama sadrisham jnanam, nanama sadrisham vratam, nanama sadrisham dhyanam, nanama sadrisham palam, nanama sadrishas tyago, nanama sadrishaha samaha, nanama sadrisham punyam, nanama sadrishigati. Namaiva paramamuktir, namaiva paramamati gati, namaiva paramam shantir, Namaiva Paramastiti, Namaiva Paramabhakti, Namaiva Paramamati, Namaiva Paramaspriti, Namaiva Paramasmiti, Namaiva Karanam Janto, Namaiva Prabhud Evacha, Namaiva Paramaradnam, Namaiva Paramo Guru. And that is in English. That there is no vow, this is from Adi Purāṇa, there is no vow like chanting Krishna's name. There's no yaga that comes close. No knowledge is superior. No meditation comes anywhere near it. And the name gives the highest result. No penance is equal to it. And nothing is as potent or powerful as the holy name. Chanting God's name is the greatest act of piety and the supreme refuge. Even the words of the Vedas do not possess sufficient power to describe its magnitude. Chanting Hare Krishna is the highest path to liberation, peace, and eternal life. It's the pinnacle of devotion, the heart's joyous proclivity and attraction, and the best form of remembrance of Lord Krishna. Holy name has appeared solely for the benefit of the living entities as their Lord and Master, their supreme worshipful object, and their spiritual guide and mentor. Whoever continuously chants the Lord's name, even in sleep, can easily realize that the name is a direct manifestation of Krishna himself, in spite of the influence of Kali Yuga. So we are very fortunate that people go to church and they pray for so many things, mostly material benefits. Or they want to go to heaven. That's the main thing. I want to go to heaven. My mother used to say when I was a kid, Lieber Gott, mach mich fromm, dass ich in den Himmel komme. My dear Lord, make me pious that I can go to heaven. You see, that's the idea, that people want to go to heaven, and they want to go with their dog, and they want to meet their relatives, and they want to have a great time in the heaven. They want to party in the heavenly kingdom. And so that is not advocated in Vedic knowledge. And there is one verse, let me see if I find this. Srila Prabhupada said. Here's what Prabhupada says. The people may not understand our message. That's a fact. But Krishna will be pleased. And that is our mission. You see, that's the thing. Then what is this? Atha pumbir dvija shreshta vanashrama vibhavagashaha svanushritasya dharmasya sam sirya hari toshanam, to please Krishna. That is the essence of Varnashram Dharma. So he said, the people might not understand our message, but Krishna will be pleased, and that is our mission. They thought Jesus Christ's mission was stopped, and they killed him. But his mission was attained. He preached 3 years only, but so many followers. He pleased Krishna. We must not be disappointed that no one is hearing Krishna consciousness. We will say to the moon, we will say to the stars, and we will say to all directions. We will cry in the wilderness, because Krishna is everywhere. We want to have a certificate from Krishna that this man has done something for me. Not popularity. That's not important. He said, if a pack of asses say you're very good, what is the use? So Prabhupada, he was not interested in public relation. You know, he was interested in pleasing Krishna. We have to please Krishna's senses with purified senses. That's the essence. In Prabhupada's life, he tried to please Krishna. He was lying in Radha Damodar temple before he came to America. He was not even sannyas at that time. So 2 god brothers visited him, and Srila Prabhupada was, in winter, he was lying on a straw mat. Can you imagine? In winter. And the god brothers told him, he said, Babu, you have to get a bed. Prabhupada was sick. He said, otherwise you die. And Prabhupada said, I want to use every rupee for book distribution. Imagine that, the austerity Prabhupada was performing. He was so intent on this that I want to have this certificate from Krishna that this man has done something for me. And it is not a matter of pleasing the public, because like in America, if you want to please the public, they will applaud you when you hang yourself. They will appreciate that. If you all commit suicide, they say, yes, this is simply wonderful. You know, so you can't please the public. Who are the public? They're just undeveloped people, not spiritually undeveloped people. And there's nothing you can do because they can't understand. They can't. You know, even if they want, even if they go to church, they can't understand spiritual life. I remember, this will be the last story. One time I drove on a train in Ireland from Dublin to Cork. And I sat in the compartment alone, and then one fellow came, old man, and sat opposite, and I was chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He said, what are you doing there? He said, I'm chanting the names of Kṛṣṇa. He said, that will not help you. He said, Jesus died for your sins. Unless you turn to Jesus, you go to hell. And so I understood that he is in a box. He's in a box. He can't think. You know, he's brainwashed. And so I realized I cannot preach to him. But I thought of an idea. So I told him, listen, I don't think that you follow Jesus. Super Soul told me that idea. You know, he said, why? I'm following Jesus. I said, okay, Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. Do you believe that? He said, yes. He said, do you practice that? He said, yes. I said, let me ask you a question. How much money you have in your pocket? And he said, what does it have to do with our discussion? I said, how much money you have in your pocket? I'm asking you a simple question. Do me a favor. Looked inside. He said, 2 times 50 euros, 100 euros. I said, give me 50. Love your neighbor as yourself means 50-50. And so he said, hold on a minute. I said, love your neighbor as yourself. Is it just lip service or are you practicing what you preach? And I heard he went like, and he said, all right, I give you 50. And he gave me 50 and I embraced him. I said, you are really a follower of Jesus. This is good preaching. You see, Kṛṣṇa says in Bhagavad Gita, let not the wise disrupt the mind of the ignorant. You know, so there's no use. But rather should be engaged, as it says in Bhagavad Gita, in the spirit of devotion. That's exactly what I did. You know, so when you meet a Christian on the street, you should celebrate. My son is doing, he's a book distributor, does this all the time. You know, he puts exactly this line on them. And so because not by logic they cannot understand, a meat eater cannot understand Krishna consciousness. I mean, before I came to the movement, I was already vegetarian a long time. Meat eating doesn't allow a person to understand Krishna, to understand anything spiritual, because it is so sinful. You're denying the soul in the body of somebody else. You're denying the super soul in the body of somebody else, and you kill him. That means you have no knowledge. What is this? Vidya Vinaya Sampani Brahmini Gavi Hastini Shuni Savasvapakicha Pandita Samadashina. The sage, he sees a soul in all creatures. He sees a soul in a dog, in a horse, in all creatures. But in the Western world, there is no concept of soul. There's no understanding. They believe in one life. There's no concept of soul. If you understand soul, soul is eternal. And soul has to take a material body. And this material body lasts only so long. So you're forced to take another body. Just like this pullover will be finished one day. You take another pullover. And in this way, unless we understand the soul, we cannot understand anything. It's just so basic. An idea of soul that na-drayate mriyate vakadachan. You never was a time that I did not exist, Kṛṣṇa says, nor you, nor all these living beings. Nor will there be a time that we will cease to be. It's all in Bhagavad Gita. And, but they don't understand. One time, the Pope of Rome was asked in a discussion setting, do animals have soul? And he said they have an immaterial but non-spiritual soul, whatever that means. You know, that means he has no idea. And in fact, that he says they have an immaterial, we understand he's in the bodily concept of life. because he thinks I have a soul. That's a bodily concept. We don't have a soul, we are the soul. So you can see that there is, even on the highest level, there is no understanding. Not even such a simple thing like the soul. Why are bad things happening to good people? In the West they can't explain. Consequently, people become atheists. Because they can understand how in the presence of a divine being, Supreme Lord, there is so much evil, so much suffering in this world. And even my brother died of cancer with 4 years. And if you ask the question why, they can't answer this question. They can't. Because they're voted. They had a vote. Is there a life before this one or not? They voted. They try to determine the truth by voting. But the truth is not subject to voting. The truth is what it is. But to have truth, you have to have guidance. You have to Sakalaneya Mata Yuganasha Parantapa. If disciplic succession is broken, or if there's no disciplic succession, there's no knowledge. So I want to wrap it up here. I thank you so much. It was nice talking to you. It's 9 o'clock. Somebody has a question we can do. Anybody? Huh? Yeah. They say, take another book. There's so many. Bhagavad Gita is just one book. But we have Bhāgavatam, we have Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we have Brahma Samhita. There's so many books. In Brahma Samhita is such an amazing book. How Lord Brahma describes even the creation. So it's amazing. How Sadashiva, who is actually Vishnu Tattva, so of Shiva, a form of Shiva lives in the spiritual world, Sadashiva, and how he gazes over Brahmadevi, the material nature, and by his gaze, by the halo of his gaze, Brahmadevi, the material nature, is inseminated by all living entities, by Krishna's, by Sadashiva's grace. And that act of procreation, transcendental procreation, is worshipped in the worship of the Shiva Linga by Shivites. So this knowledge is there. So much knowledge. What do people know of Radha and Krishna in the material world? We know so much about Radha. We know that there are very female arts that Radharani is performing. And there are male arts. Like Radharani, she doesn't tell Krishna, why are the universes coming only from your pores? They should come out of my pores as well. No difference between men and women, it's all the same. That's the philosophy in Western countries. No difference. So she doesn't stand on the battlefield. She should challenge Krishna, I want to stay on the battlefield also. Why is it that you go to the material world? I want to do this also. She doesn't. She is a lady and she performs the dharma of a lady. It's very simple to understand that. So India in that sense is much more traditional than the Western world, where there is no tradition, very little understanding. And people believe that men and women are the same. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premananda Haribol.